Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Raw is Ginger.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Raw is Ginger. And as you can see, we are here with the resident Ginger, Andrew Dummy.
Hey.
How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. Kev, how's yourself?
Not bad, not bad. Got my tea, I'm happy.
Hey, I have good old-fashioned diluted juice that you can't really see because of the background, which is always fun. Well,
It's always fun.
Yeah, before going any further, I want to thank everybody that has watched the last video, the worst retirement matches. It is the first video on our channel to cross 1,000 views. So thank you very much to everybody that has watched that. Well, it's quite surprising, really, because I was like, just put it on, I'll just see how it goes, and all of a sudden it just went kablooey. So,
I mean, it's just, you've just been doing these to try and tide us over for content because we've all been so busy with all our other things. So it's like we've not really had a chance to get the three of us together to make another one, which is why we missed Payback.
I know. Well, there's just things that have been going on because of Payback, so we decided we were just going to call that a dead rubber anyway, because Kev had got his list in, and I think Toner and I were basically calling the same shots, so it would have been just an even score across the board. We just never got around to doing it because everything that went on. So as it stands, like, Toner's obviously still in the lead, but everything will be getting restructured as of 2024 anyway.
Yeah.
But we thought we'd try something a little bit different. Well, because the top lists have been going well, and also we've not got the three of us here, so we don't want to do a should WWE erase without Toner. Kev came up with a good idea, so enlighten us, Kev, enlighten everybody for what your idea was.
My idea was, it's something that I've spoke to people about before. It's like people who have never won the top title in WWE who should have. There's lots of people that have won it elsewhere. They've went to rival companies like WCW, ECW when it was good, not under WWF, and TNA, and they've won the top titles there, but they never won the big grand prize, the granddaddy of them all, as it's called.
Yeah. Yes, very true. Well, and I thought that was quite interesting as well, because there's ones that would be on my list as well. So we've kind of done it. We've got about, I would probably say about 14, 15 between us.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, because Kev's got about 10. I've got 4. Well, I'm sure they'll probably cross over anyway, and we'll probably do some honorable mentions as well. Yeah. So, Kev, we shall start with you. Give us your first one.
Well, my first one has to be Jake the Snake Roberts. He was in the running for the title, and the Ultimate Warrior screwed him out of it. He said that he was
true.
The Ultimate Warrior came out and said, "I'm not jobbing to him. I'm not losing the title to him. Clean or dirty, I'm not losing to him. If you make me lose, I'll walk out with the title. I will legitimately beat him up." And then that was his run gone.
That's
stuck in mid card, and he didn't even win any titles in WWE.
Do you honestly think that the Ultimate Warrior could have legitimately beat up Jake the Snake? Because I think you never underestimate anybody that has mental health issues. I say this from personal experience. Because they're the ones that, even if they have everything going on for them, they think, I have no more fucks left to give.
Yeah.
And they'll just go for it because they think, I've got nothing left to lose. Yeah. So I don't think that Ultimate Warrior, considering his track record in the ring as well, where he would last for maybe a minute or two just running to the ring, and then that was it.
Yeah.
There's no way he could survive in a brawl.
His longest match in history was against Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6.
Well, there you go.
Title versus title. Which, funnily enough, was one of both of their greatest matches.
It's true, because there was a good story around it.
Yeah.
The story itself was what was the most captivating. And like with everything else that, has a build up to like a crescendo, for example, at WrestleMania, they never think about what happens afterwards. They get to that plan, then they go, right, how are we going to keep this going? And that was ultimately the Ultimate Warrior's downfall.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't know what to do with him. And then they tried to push it out with the Lex Express, and that was just horrible. But that actually leads into mine. Lex Luger. he actually isn't on my list, but the second I just thought of it there, I was like, right, that's one, because they did try and push him to the moon.
Yeah.
Hulk had left the company at this point after the infamous WrestleMania 9, and then he bogged off.
Yep.
Then they had the whole who can lift Yokozuna, who can be the challenger, and then coming in the helicopter, you think that it's going to be Hulk. Turns out it's Lex. He comes out,
Yeah.
and he is basically, he was like, I would say, prototype what they tried to make Kurt Angle in the Attitude Era.
It's
like
similar.
Yeah.
All American, USA, here we come.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except it worked better with Kurt Angle because he did have charisma. You were drawn into him. Yeah. Whether he was a good guy or a bad guy. It's like, this guy has something and I want to see him every week. Yeah. Whereas with Lex Luger, it's like, I've not seen Lex Luger in about 4 weeks. That been 4 weeks?
Yeah. And that was because
make it a bit longer.
That was because essentially he was doing a presidential campaign trail. They got the Lex Express, which everybody knows about. He went on that. He was basically doing everything bar the kissing babies. Well, I think he probably did that as well. I
think he did.
Yeah. Well, and it was the whole thing around that. And he wasn't actually in a ring doing anything because they were so invested in this tour bus with him on it. And even then, like, you know, he was still turning up late for tapings and interviews and all this kind of stuff as well. And the way they handled it was awful.
Which is why they never put the title on him. Because they were pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. And just people weren't accepting it.
Yeah. But it was a case of like, if it was going to happen, it was one of those things we thought, well, it's a surefire bet. We're just going to do it. But it was like in the 11th hour, Vince basically went, you're still going to get your win, but it's going to be through DQ. And it was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then the celebration at the end of that, it would have made more sense if it just came tantalizingly close and he was upset and he was distraught. But they still had the streamers and everybody hoisting him on his shoulders and whatnot, celebrating like he had actually won it. And it was like, no, he hadn't. No. And then it also wrote it into the story that if he lost it, it wasn't getting another shot. It was a one and done deal. So they tried the reach around, which was, okay, we'll see what we'll get him to win the Royal Rumble. But Brett's popularity was surging at this point. So it was a double over the top rope. And then that was gauging fan interest on that to see who it was. Bret Hart was the clear winner.
Yeah.
So that essentially buried him as well. Well, I think he should have at least had it at that point, at least had the build up for it. The original Lex Express run should have done it.
Yeah.
And then if it didn't work out, he just drops the belt. Like he's a transitional champ. And that's it.
Yeah.
But that's why I thought maybe we should include him, because he should have at least had that to build the hype. How many times have we saw a story looking like it was coming to its natural conclusion, and then they just swerve it, and you're like, no, that's not right. And then hindsight, everybody goes, yeah, we kind of fucked that.
Yeah.
So I would say Lex Luger got kind of done dirty with that one. He had no charisma or natural ability. He just looked like an Adonis. But then again, most of them did at that point.
Yeah, I mean, this was the era where Vince was just getting in bodybuilders because he liked the look of them. Was that? But can they wrestle?
Yeah, and that was how they got around it, because he still had a year left in his contract at WCW, so they couldn't put him in right away. So what they did was they got him into the World Bodybuilding Federation for that year.
Yeah, yep.
And that didn't work out either because he got in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah, which is why he didn't wrestle for like the first 6 months after you seen him.
So
because he hadn't been cleared.
Yep, and it still wound up being ultimately pointless for him anyway. So was Lex on your list?
Lex was not on my list.
No, at least that one that I've pulled the rabbit out my backside, that I've been able to get one then. So, right, what's your next one then?
My next one is Rick Rude. You just look at his run. The people that he had feuds with were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, him going up against the Ultimate Warrior, it made the Ultimate Warrior look so good because he knew how to lose a match in style.
Mm-hmm.
He made it an art form when he lost. So it was something, him and the model Rick Martel, they two could make losing a match an art form.
Mm-hmm.
And the only person that's came close to it in like the modern era is Dolph Ziggler.
But,
And a wee bit now, The Miz,
true.
he's won one match this year, and he's had like 70 odd matches this year. He's only won one, and yet he's still relevant.
Yep.
And that was the same with Rick Rude. He didn't win all of his matches. His Intercontinental title run was fantastic with the feud with the Warrior, who ultimately won it and then went on to WrestleMania against Hulk Hogan, because that was the long building story to build up the Ultimate Warrior. They needed somebody who could take the Warrior and make him look fantastic. And they gave him Rick Rude, who should have been in that match against Hogan instead of the Warrior, I think.
I think so as well, especially when you look back on it with hindsight and how they were as performers. But someone that they did look like they were going to put the belt on, but didn't, and it could have been a real glass ceiling breaker, China.
That would have been a good one.
That's my next one.
Yeah.
That's my next one is China. And a lot of people might think that's a bit of a controversial one because she had a European title. She was a 2-time Intercontinental champion. Well, and then also she was the women's champion as well, kind of as consolation. But that was a squash. There was the whole point of her building her up was that she was better than the divas that they had at that time. And that's no disrespect to Ivory, who I thought was a fantastic women's champion at that point.
Yeah.
But Trish Stratus was still learning the ropes. Lita was still learning the ropes. So they weren't there yet. China was. Well, and it would have made the division look worse because they had ones like Sable and the Cat who were just there for sex appeal.
That was it.
Well,
at that time, in the Attitude Era, what were the women's division for? To be got that. Brand panties matches was a staple of the Attitude Era.
Yep, definitely.
And then you get China coming in, just brutalizing everybody from Jericho to Eddie Guerrero to Jeff Jarrett.
Yep. That was the...
And she went up against these guys, one-on-one. No outside interference. And it's like, you see her coming into this match like that, I could see her kicking his arse.
And it was something that was so refreshing and unique, and it got a demographic in that was really not engaging with wrestling, and that was the female audience, because they were wanting to come in and see what a woman kick a guy's ass.
Yeah.
And it looked like they were gonna do that with the program with Stone Cold.
Yeah.
But sadly, egos got in the way. She was thinking that, she should be earning the same amount as Stone Cold, and they were like, look, you're an attraction, but not Stone Cold material, because there was guys that she was fighting or who were on the same level as Stone Cold that weren't getting the same as Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Because he was just white hot. There was the only other person that started to kind of rise to that at that point was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Well, and even then,
even Triple H hadn't got to that level just yet. He hadn't quite got there. You could see it starting to build.
Yeah,
everybody
was starting to get there. I mean, you look at guys like that had been there, like The Undertaker, who had been there for a long time. Stone Cold usurped it because he was just so on form. Well, and then you look at ones like Kane, who I don't think you could get a better debut than Kane.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but at the same time, he wasn't at the same level as Stone Cold. But he got a title. Granted, it was a one-day thing because they realized their mistake and then quickly transitioned it back to Stone Cold.
Yeah.
But they could have done something like that with China. They could have had the match with Stone Cold, but they probably would have needed to have been like a bit of interference.
Yeah.
For that one. Maybe she wins it.
Or a fast count, special guest referee with a fast count, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But I think she should have at least had, I've not had the belt, at least had the match.
Yeah.
She should have had it, and then just, and even if she fell short, see how it went from that. Because I think she could have easily been a contender. She was breaking barriers left, right, and center that to this day still haven't been broken.
Yeah, that's true.
The only ones that I could really think of that could potentially do it, I mean, Nia Jax entered the Royal Rumble. But Rhea
Aye.
Ripley is very much they're trying to make her in the China mold. But at the same time, there's competition in the women's division now that she can actually take on. But
Yeah.
I still want to see her. There's something there with her and Kevin Owens. I want to see that match. I want to see that being like a street fight and just seeing how Rhea Ripley just batters the hell out of him. But have it very, very close, depending on who and what it's going to be for. You know, like just like pure pride or whatever, because I could see that being a really strong match.
Yeah, I could see that as well. And
Yep.
with somebody like Kevin Owens, he's like one of the safest wrestlers
Mm-hmm.
that you could be in the ring with. I mean, Stone Cold even said that when he was coming back for that match with Kevin Owens, so he's watched his stuff since like he started in the independents and he watched them coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, I've never seen anybody as safe in the ring in my life. And like when that's coming from Stone Cold, who's been in the ring with near enough everybody
Yeah.
throughout his career, he's like, that's a thing. He's like, so I came in and just said to Kevin Owens, call the match. So that full match was called by Kevin Owens because Stone Cold came in saying, I'm not going to come in and we're not going to go, right, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. Just you call it and I'll go with the flow.
Yep.
And when you've got that amount of confidence in someone coming from a veteran like Stone Cold saying, on you go, it's like that's like a badge of honor.
Definitely. So let's move on to your next one, Kev.
My next one is Ken Shamrock.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I think from him being like a legitimate badass, yes. But I don't think he had the charisma or the personality to be it like that type of world champion at that time. So why do you think that he should have been?
Well, when it was the corporation and he was there beating up Vince McMahon, beating up The Rock, beating up everybody, at that point, you didn't need the charisma. You could just be a legitimate badass, come in, kick ass, and go. And that's what he done. They were bringing him up to put the title on him, and it just didn't happen because Vince didn't like the fact that he was going over before they wanted him to go over. It wasn't on Vince's timeline, so it's like, no, we're pulling it back.
Well, another one that I could maybe say that's on the same lines that, again, I'm just pulling out my backside, Steve Blackman. Same kind of deal, because I remember them seeing hearing that they went and saw Steve like in, I think it was like a dark match. It was like for Heat or something like that. And it said to Vince, like, he's good. And Vince went, yeah, let's see if he can go get over. And he did.
Yeah.
Just because of the fact that he could legitimately kick ass and go home. And then if anybody pissed him off backstage, he would kick their ass. Prime example.
Like what happened with JBL?
Yes. Do you like JBL? But I think that was the thing that was the problem with Blackman, is that
he didn't take any shit.
He didn't take any shit, but he had essentially no personality in the ring.
Yeah.
It was, I'm coming in to kick ass and go home.
Yeah.
And it made for great matches, like with ones against like Shane McMahon, when he had that tag team with Al Snow of Head Cheese.
It was fantastic.
When you seen him out of his comfort zone, that was quite good. What? But legitimately, and based on how he is, he shouldn't have been at that level. He should have been an upper card guy. He should have been a main eventer. He should have been Brock, like if he was around time of Brock Lesnar.
Oh yeah.
How good a match would be a triple threat between Steve Blackman, Brock Lesnar, and Ken Shamrock.
Oh, that would be a bloodbath. Complete bloodbath. Yep. But just because you mentioned Head Cheese, Al Snow, he wasn't on my list, but he could easily have had a run, even if it was like a 6-week run.
True.
Him and Head. How over was Al Snow with Head?
Definitely. I was watching something recently from Cultaholic Wrestling, which I absolutely love, and they were talking about the worst matches of 1998, and number one was what used to be, like Too Cool, the prototype of Too Cool.
Yeah.
Too much versus Al Snow and Head. And they were saying it wasn't a good match, and I could kind of see it, like why, but it had one of the most inventive finishes in the world
Oh yeah,
where they stuck a bottle of Head and Shoulders to head, did a 3 count, and that was it.
yeah.
I think that was fantastic. I
Oh no,
don't think
it was a great finish.
yeah, it was a great like kind of spectacle match. I
Yeah,
would say. I don't think what was it a great match? What no,
no,
but I don't think it should have been number one. Considering some of the ones that they put on the list, I was like, no, I think it definitely shouldn't have been number one. But it
yeah.
was their
I
but it
mean,
was their list, so fair dues.
yeah. I mean, at that point, Too Much were still very much developing who they were. It was not long after that that they turned into Too Cool and then started to dancing and then brought in Rikishi.
Mm,
And then that's when they found themselves.
yeah.
But
Well,
when they were Too Much, it was like they're just trying to
yeah.
get there.
Yeah. It was they were
I
just
mean,
finding their way. Like that's the same deal with a lot of them. Like Rikishi's a prime example.
yeah,
Like he's actually one that I'm just going to include in now because I do think the Rikishi should have been a world champion.
yeah, I've actually got him on the list.
Oh, there we go.
He's on my list because with the whole the bad guy, I'm a bad man. When
I
he
did
was
it
the
for the
heel
Rock.
Rikishi, I did it for the Rock. That fantastic.
Mm,
It'll go down in history. People will be quoting it to him for generations. And here we are now.
mm-hmm.
But
Still quoting it.
he should totally have had at least again 6 to 8 week run with the title. Even if it was his only run, he should
Mm-hmm.
have been there.
Definitely. Well, and the
Yeah,
way they built him up as well, like they built him up with Too Cool at this point. He was getting over. They gave him a push with the Intercontinental title to see
yeah,
what his response was like. It was a great response, but the way that they done his character done him dirty because when they
yeah,
turned him heel, it totally killed everything because they didn't want to boo him.
yeah,
They didn't want to boo like the Samoan dancing guy.
yeah. And they didn't know how to work him as
Mm-hmm.
a heel. If
Yeah.
they just let him go and said, right, do your own thing as a heel, he could have come out and done it.
Mm-hmm. I think
But
so. And everybody looks at that 6-man Hell in a Cell, right? And they always go like, there was Taker, there was Stone Cold, there was The Rock, there was Triple H, there was Kurt Angle, and Rikishi. I'm like, no,
yeah,
don't put the down note on him. He definitely played his part in that.
oh yeah,
Like that spot that he
what,
done off the top of the cell with a dead man, what
yeah.
was
And then they
would
just
it,
drove him off. Is that right?
yeah.
Bye.
And it's like, would anybody else been willing to do that bump? No.
No. It's been how long since that match? What do people talk about? The Undertaker choke slamming him into that van that drove away.
Mm-hmm.
What? Who won that match?
It's Kurt Angle, I believe.
Yeah,
There we go.
but it's like you had to
But
think about it then.
uh,
Whereas, the Rikishi thing, you can
but
remember that like that. But who
yeah.
won?
But the only reason I do remember it is because I was swatting up on champions and stuff like that, and I'd seen a Kurt Angle bio video, and I clicked on that because I was like, I want to hear a wee bit more about the Olympic gold medalist. What and yeah, I genuinely forgot that it was him that had won it, but that was also one where it was so ironic because Rikishi, like he had the big moment, but that was ironically him falling off of the main event scene. But Kurt Angle
Yeah,
rose to the occasion with it because he was absolutely bloodied and battered and bruised, but still won.
yeah,
So it was very true on that sense.
yeah.
So since we covered Rikishi, well, I'm going to jump into one that I think is pretty much like a cert. William Regal.
He's on my list as well.
There we go. I had a feeling he would be. Well, I think what upsets me the most about it is because they were so close to pushing him.
Yeah,
They were so close, and then it was his own demons that got in the way. What with it,
yeah,
with his substance abuse and wellness violations. And I think that's what's the most upsetting when you look at a guy like Jeff Hardy,
yeah,
who did get world titles. Eventually, he got there.
yeah,
But those things kind of caught him, but he still got there. But the one point that William Regal looks like he's about to finally ascend to where he should be,
yep,
and that was what got him. And I think everybody's heart just broke
yeah,
for him. I would have been like, right, go get yourself clean, and then let's bring it back. Even if we just get you in, you do like some like essentially have money in the bank without the actual money in the bank. You just run in, beat the crap out of somebody that's already done it, bring in a ref, 1, 2, 3. He gets his moment. Maybe he has it for a little while. He goes, I did this. And then normal service resumes. Just give him what he was due, but he never got it. Even up to that point, though, he was a fantastic worker. He would do what he was asked. I think it was just he needed to be the guy that elevated the mid card.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of times he did not know what to do with that mid card. And Regal was always the guy you could rely on to keep it the mid card mid rather than it all dropping down.
Because the amount of times they'd put like the European title on him or the Intercontinental title on him and saying, right, we need you to go build this guy up and then we'll put the title on them and give them a run. And it's like so many great matches. I can't actually think off the top of my head any bad matches that he had.
No.
And also, he came in WCW, right, you're going up against Goldberg, and he just went for him. So I'm not having a squash match. I'm going to fight back. People expect me to fight back. That's what my character is. I will go in and I will legitimately beat the shit out of people because that's how I was trained. I'll take the loss, but it's not going to be a squash.
Well,
and that almost destroyed his career.
I know. And the worst part was he was just doing what he was told. I always find it really crap because one thing you're taught as you grow up is that, you have to work hard, kind of listen to what the boss tells you, and eventually you're going to get the rewards. It does not work like that in any industry from what I've seen. And William Regal's a prime example. He would do what he was told to do with the hope that he would get further up the card as he should do for his years of service, and he never did. And it just proves that sometimes life is a complete show. 100%. So yeah, William Regal was on there for you. What other one are you thinking?
Mr. Perfect.
Oh yes. Wasn't on my list, but yep, Kurt Hennig definitely.
Should have had at least 3 runs with the title. His first run, he was supposed to take the title off of Hogan. Guess what Hogan said? He wasn't dropping it.
It doesn't work for me, brother. Just don't. It's something I've never understood about Hulk Hogan. I'm like, why did he have to be that just massive douche? It wasn't like
it's just that's how some people are.
He had nothing to prove. He had absolutely nothing to prove. And it just would never make sense. And don't get me wrong, like Mr. Perfect, when you think of the Intercontinental Championship, like he's one of the ones that you instantly think of, aside from guys like, the elevated like Bret Hart and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I do think it was criminal for it. I think he could, if maybe like his back issues and stuff and the time kind of in and out, I think if he was able to stay healthy at that point, maybe there would have been a chance. But at the same time, Bret started going over. And there was kind of no other ifs, buts, or coconuts about that one.
Yeah. I mean, what they should have done was they should have put the title on Mr. Perfect like early 90s, like 91, 92 is when they should have had that on him. Because that's when sort of a Bret Hart became singles and then started to build up to the mid card. And then they could have had like Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart, title versus title.
Yeah.
Another Warrior versus Hogan. They've had the rivalry. Whereas Hogan and Warrior were always like 2 good guys.
Yeah.
And then they put them in this title versus title match. And it worked.
Yeah, it really did.
Why wouldn't it work with 2 people that have had a rivalry since like the late 80s, early 90s? They 2 have been having matches here and there. Fantastic matches. Put a title on each of them. Do a title versus title match. That will draw money, as Vince says.
Draw me money.
And that would have.
Yeah. Well, here's the question then. For one that I think might be on your list, Owen Hart.
I didn't put Owen Hart on my list because I think they would have ruined him if they made him the champion.
Do you think so? Even when it was like, the height of the brother versus brother?
I think so. They were building him up to knock him down. So even if they did put it on him, they would have just grated him down. And I wouldn't want to have seen that for him because out of the Hearts, he was by far so much better than Brett.
Yeah, he definitely proved it. Like, with his WrestleMania match with him, it was just fantastic. Like, that was just sheer technical brilliance.
Yeah.
And I always had a soft spot for Owen. Well, I think because, me being a younger brother as well, you always wanted to see that you always wanted to see like the younger brother get the win over the bigger brother, because when you're growing up, you never do.
No, you don't. Speaking as a younger brother as well.
Yep. You never get that one, and if they do, they always go it was a fluke, or it was it was a lucky one or whatever. So I'll put Owen on mine as an honorable mention. He wasn't officially on my list, but I'll put him down as an honorable one, because that is one. I think you're right. I think he probably would have butchered him because of the gimmicks that they gave him. But I still think he could have done like a big title justice as long as
by far, but I wouldn't have wanted that just because of what they were doing with him.
I think in an alternative reality, if he got the title though, I think Brett would have probably stepped in.
Yeah.
Like if they gave him like the big title, because what's Bret Hart's big thing is legacy, and your family is your legacy as well. So they wouldn't want Owen to look like a clown if he had a big title, because he'd be like, that impacts on me. I'm his older brother. He's part of our Hart dynasty.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want that. Ergo, treat him well or I'll kill you.
Yeah.
So I think that probably would have been one of the only things that would have saved him, but they would have had to do it before Montreal.
Definitely.
Because I think if it was after Montreal, Vince probably would have put a title on Owen just to make him look ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just because that's the way his mind operates.
How many more have you got on your list?
I have a total of 2 left. How many are still on yours?
1, 2, 3, 4, and a possibility of 5 and 6.
Right. So let's give one for you then, since you've got more on them than I do.
Ron Simmons, aka Farouk.
Definitely.
When he brought up the Nation of Domination, they should have put the title on him there and then. And that would have sealed that faction even more than what it was. They should have put the title on him, because he was a legitimate badass. He was just somebody that you did not fuck with. Oh
God, no, definitely not. The fact he again, remember we were talking about one-word catchphrases.
Damn.
Exactly. He's a guy that could. He only needed to say one word, and he was awesome.
I know.
Well, and again, if they put JBL into the main event scene, they could have done that with Farouk, with Ron Simmons. They could have definitely done that with him. There would have been no question.
Bring him back and give him a run. Let him take the title off of Roman.
Definitely.
I would pay to see that. I would bankrupt myself to go to America, sit in the front row next to green shirt guy, and watch Farouk kick Roman Reigns' ass. That's what I want to see.
There we go. That's it. You've made your pitch, and
in fact, I would rather watch JBL as the champion again than have Roman as the champion for much longer.
Yeah. See, I thought a lot of people might have disagreed with me about JBL, but
not everybody agreed with you. I was like, what?
Apparently so. Apparently I do know my stuff when it comes to JBL. What? Because there's lots of ones like underappreciated pushes, great character turns, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I was majorly questioning myself, and now I don't need to anymore. Which is why I'm not questioning.
It's the fact that I won that argument for you.
You did. You really did. Like you pulled off my signature move. But speaking of signature moves, and someone that I think should have had a go at the main event scene, Matt Hardy.
He's not on my list, but yes, that's a good one.
In particular, his broken Matt character. WWE didn't know what to do with Matt because they just were so set on Jeff being the guy. He was the daredevil. He was the guy that they were like, okay, we're going to push him. But he had too many demons. Whereas Matt did have some demons, like, he got done for, like, drugs and all that kind of stuff, but he got his
but
head
that was because of circumstances due to things and
yes, certain things that had happened. But he got his head screwed. But he got his head screwed on. What? And the ultimate irony was, it was when his head got screwed off, where it went to broken Matt when he was in TNA, that everybody was like, "Wow, he is good." When you give him the creative control of his character and how he can work it, and he did cinematic matches before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And
like all those matches, the cinematic matches in TNA, that was like a highlight at that point for TNA, especially with the ups and downs they had with Hogan and Bischoff, but they were gone, and this is what it was now, and it's like, this is something.
It was something that really proved that Matt could be the guy that we all knew he could be. I was a massive fan of him when he was in his V1 incarnation. His theme music was criminally underrated. I love his theme music.
Whenever he was coming out, you had to read the wee things like, what's it saying this week?
Yes.
And it's loved it. Some of the things was just insane. And that was him saying to the guys, put this up.
Yep.
And they would just do it. Because Vince McMahon said to him, you come up with the stories for that. He would say stupid wee things like that backstage and people would be in stitches.
And
he would talk about himself in the third person, which is what they started doing with the V1. He'd talk about himself in the third person.
Yep.
And it's like, and it worked.
What was one of your favourite, like, Mattitude facts?
I think one was, Matt Hardy doesn't like milk because it comes from cows. And it's like, what?
My favourite one was just, Matt has seen all the Friday the 13th movies.
I think we all have.
At that point, I was like, right, if Matt... I think that's how I wound up watching them all, because I went, if Matt Hardy's seen them all, I need to see them all. I was a Mattitude follower. I thought his character was just brilliant. And again, it was because it got organically over and Vince didn't like that.
Yeah.
And it just totally stripped it back. They never trusted Matt with his own creative vision. And while I do agree that with some people, you do need to kind of rein it in a little. Like, I think Bray Wyatt was the prime example. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, may he rest in peace. But when you gave him too much control, it was very, very polarizing. When there was, the way I would equate it to Frankie Boyle with stand-up comedy and Mock the Week. When the BBC were like, okay, you can push this bit, but maybe don't push this. He had that kind of knack to him, but when he started going out on his own at first, doing the stand-up, and he was totally unfiltered, it was just like he'd let the reins off, and it was like, whoa, okay.
I mean, the thing is, when you get somebody like Bray Wyatt, can't rein that type of character in. You need to let them go. And then when they brought in like Matt Hardy, and it was sort of a broken a bit,
yes,
and they put him with Bray Wyatt, that was a fantastic run.
Because it wasn't broken, it was woken.
Yeah, because they couldn't get the stuff for TNA.
Yeah, there was a copyright issue around it. But and again, they tried to do the stuff with Bray, but again, they hampered the creativity. Well, I think if they gave Matt the same creative freedom that they gave Bray, it would have been brilliant. But I think the time, with the time that it was in and stuff, they just weren't allowing it. And I think that was a shame, because that character in particular would have been fantastic.
Yeah, and the fact that they brought in the broken Matt Hardy character, they should have brought in Jeff as Willow at that point as well. That could have been a fantastic faction.
Yep.
Because Jeff Hardy owns the rights to that character. He was doing that before even he was in WWE.
He was doing that when they created their own wrestling promotion.
Yeah. So he has the copyright to that, so he could have brought that in. But they didn't let him because they wouldn't make any money from it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were so intent on pushing Jeff as the guy that, they wanted him to be.
Yeah.
So Matt was definitely on my list, which is ironic, because I was talking about how, I wanted the younger brother to break out of the older brother's shadow, and then
this time it's the older brother.
It was the reverse. But Jeff just had that charisma, and Matt did too. He just never got the recognition because, like, Jeff was so daredevilish.
Yeah.
Just thought, strap the rocket to him, on you go. So, who's next in yours?
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
I was actually watching Ricky Steamboat last night because I was watching a documentary on, ironically, the stuff that's happened with CM Punk.
Yeah.
And Ricky Steamboat was a special guest referee in one of CM Punk's matches.
Yep.
And I just thought it was fantastic.
I mean, just his feud with Macho Man just showed how much he was a top tier guy. He's went round the world winning title after title after title, and they wouldn't give him the top prize.
I know. I never understood kind of why, but then again, it's the mind of Vince trying to understand that. Like, there'll be psychologists that'll end up getting broken and turned to retirement if they try to understand his brain.
Oh, there's no way anybody can understand Vince McMahon's brain.
No, definitely not.
The addled mess that it is.
But I can understand why you'd have, Ricky Steamboat in there. But, my final one, Shelton Benjamin.
Did not have him on the list, but definitely he should have been.
Yep.
And he could actually just do it just now because he's still like at the top of his game.
He could. He definitely could. Like the Hurt Business stable was fantastic. They did not know what they had with that until it was gone.
Yep.
I know it was Bobby Lashley that was, the main guy on it, but you so easily could have put Shelton into it to contend and done a kind of similar thing like they'd done with the Evolution stable, where Shelton's trying to ironically challenge the younger guy instead of it being, like the Dave Batista Triple H or Randy Orton Triple H when it was Evolution. You could have done that and it would have worked so well. But Shelton was so underappreciated. Like the spots that he was doing, the high flying moves that he was doing was like at least 10 years ahead of the game. At that point. Well, and yes, he was very respected, like in the kind of, like the mid card scene, US title, Intercontinental, that kind of scene. But he was one that would have easily made the transition and made the step up to proper champ, like not proper champion, you know what I mean? But the elevated status, he could have made that jump and stayed there.
Just the matches that he had with like the top tier people before he left for like eight years, I think it was, he was away, and then he came back, and he hadn't missed a step.
No,
he hadn't been wrestling in that 8 years. He just went away.
He was fantastic. Like he was absolutely brilliant. And just one of those ones that, when you think of the factions that he was in and who he was in with, Kurt Angle and JBL were the two kind of main ones. They were ones that you thought there was potential there to take him to the next level. But again, I think it fell into a William Regal trap. Very reliable in the mid card, so let's keep him there.
I know.
Whereas it shouldn't have been. It should have let him go further. So that's all like the ones on my list. I do have an honorable mention, but I'll wait until we get through yours first. So
okay, well, I only have two full ones and two possibilities. First one, Scott Hall. Razor Ramon should have got the title.
I think, when it was Razor Ramon, he should have got it. Because I think he showed how good he was when he was in the Intercontinental scene. It was just because Kevin Nash was just he was the Vince prototype, big guy, very big guy. And I think also Scott's personal demons just caught up with him in the end. But I can understand, it was that way. It's like, I can understand both sides with it.
Yeah.
I
understand why they didn't put it on him. But he was a functioning addict. For his entire career.
Very true.
He should have had one run, give him some matches with Sean.
Yeah.
We know they two can go.
Yeah. And Sean wouldn't have minded putting him over because he was, fellow Click member.
Oh, yeah. None of them would have a problem putting any of them over. That's why when Shawn Michaels came back, after he was, completely beaten up, and then it turns out it was Triple H that done it. And that thing with those two, the street fight they had.
Oh, yeah.
None of them come off looking weak.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Triple H put Shawn Michaels over like a bomb,
Mm-hmm.
and none of them looked weak
Yeah.
because they have that friendship.
Yep. And it was the fact that, like, like Paul Levesque had said to like Sean's missus, because she was terrified with him going into that match, and he said, "I promise you, I will take care of him," and he did.
Yep. Although they were both a bloody mess by the end of it.
Yeah, they were absolutely. They were like bloodied to hell, but
Yeah.
he kept his promise.
Yeah.
I've got to give him his due with that.
They both walked out injury free.
Yep. And that gave Sean his confidence back to go like on a run, which I actually think was better than his first run. Because
the matches that he had in that second run, like the early 2000s, it was really good.
Yeah. I also think because he was well rounded as a person.
Yeah.
Like he had everything like that he should have had the first time round. Like his character on screen and off screen were both settled and on point. It's wrestled with his demons. He got control of them. And I think that elevated his performance to another level.
Yeah.
So who's your final one?
My final one is the honorary Scotsman, Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Definitely.
Because the feuds he had with Hogan at WrestleMania 1 and 2, round about that time, the whole thing with him was about how he made the match. He came to the ring, he spoke about what he was going to do, and then he went out and he done it. There was no bullshitting with him. He says, "I'm going to come out, I'm going to take you in that ring, I'm going to drag you from each corner, and I'm going to deck you in each of them, and then I'm going to put you on the floor and pin you." And that's what he would do.
Oh, yeah.
And yet, in the matches where he lost, he would still do those things, and he would never come off looking weak.
That was true.
But again, it was backstage politics and people not wanting to go over for him, and it's just ridiculousness that he only had the Intercontinental title run and the tag title run with Ric Flair. Well in his career that he shouldn't have really had. Even he said that. That was a ridiculous run. Me and Rick had no reason to be coming in to become a tag team champions. But they'd done it because they were getting paid.
True.
But he should have had a run.
So who's one of your honourable mentions?
One of them is Booker T. Technically, he did have a world championship, but he never had the top WWE championship. He had the heavyweight because he'd had it 5 times in WCW.
Yep, that was his thing when he first came over. 5-time WCW champion.
He had the title, and they put it on Triple H because he was a WCW guy.
Yeah,
he got it back, but it was never the top title.
I can kind of see that. My honourable mention, Bubba Ray Dudley, and it's purely because of again, like with Matt Hardy, the singles run that he done in TNA when he turned heel, was fantastic, and it proved he could be a main eventer.
Yeah,
he done brilliantly with that character, with that gimmick. It went over with the fans, and there could be a chance. You never know. Well, I think they're both signed to Legends deals now. Well,
they are.
That was reported, so there could be an option, but I don't think they would split them if it's that case, because of when they tried to split them the first time round, it just did not work.
Yeah.
So I think in WWE,
they'll just be a tag team. Yeah.
They'll always be a tag team, but Bubba definitely proved that he could go on his own.
Yeah.
And that run solidified it, that he had main event potential that could have done it in WWE.
I mean, that whole thing about the aces and eights, that was a diamond in the rough in TNA. People look back on that and say, "Oh, that was terrible." When you actually go back and look at it, it was fantastic, considering that was at the height of the Hogan and Bischoff stuff.
Yep.
This completely stood out because it's like, this is similar to things we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to do an NWO thing, which everybody still tries to do.
Yep.
It's inevitable. NWO done it first.
Mm.
Then you had the Bullet Club, which is essentially a version of the NWO.
Yeah. It's like NWO Light.
Yeah. Then you had DX. You had Evolution. They base it off of that. They're coming in to try and take over.
Yeah.
And that's what Aces and Eights done. But
even in the most recent ones, they've got, Judgment Day, Bloodline, even the Hurt Business, as we mentioned as well.
Yeah.
They all try and follow the same type of mold.
It's the mold that's worked for wrestling promotions for years.
Mm-hmm.
And they're never going to make that die. They're never going to say, we're never going to have any factions again. Because people would stop going. They want to see a group of people coming in and dominating everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they want.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, who's your final honourable mention?
Christian. Because again, he had the World Championship. He had the big gold belt. But they never put the top title on him. Whereas Edge has had both.
True.
But Christian only had the big gold belt, which wasn't held in as high esteem in WWE because Vince is like, it's a secondary belt.
Yeah, and Vince didn't think Christian had it in him.
Exactly. But he's proved that by going to TNA.
Mm-hmm.
His run right now in AEW is fantastic.
It's brilliant.
His mic work is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the Brood, like one of their first things, it was horrendously bad. Gangrel didn't know what he was saying. He was in his face. He's admitted it. Edge was just spewing out a complete and utter bollocks. They put them out to Christian. He's just like, because he knew he had nothing to say. He's like, I can't add anything to this that'll make it good. Nothing will make. I could take a shit in the ring, and that would be better than anything that's going on.
Yep.
And it's just that. It's like, he knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He speaks when he needs to, and he should have had at least 2 or 3 runs with the top title.
Like with all these ones, it makes you realize how much potential and how much squandered potential has came and went through WWE's doors.
I know.
And it just makes you wonder, well, a lot of them, what if? So I think that's a very, very good list that we have got. I'm going to try and count and see how many we have mentioned, because as we were going on, I was making sure to get images to put up in this video. So let's see how many I got. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh, we're one off of 20. We're one off of 20.
Let's.
Oh, we need to think of another one. Oh man. Got to think another one. I'm just trying to think of anybody from like kind of Attitude Era. Because Attitude Era, like Ruthless Aggression, were my kind of main ones that I knew. Did Carlito ever have get the big one?
No.
Carlito, I think.
See, I wasn't going to. I was going to go completely off kilter.
No, who you going to go with?
Al Snow.
No, I think we put Al Snow in.
Did we put Al Snow in?
Did we, or did we just give him?
I think we were just talking about him because Steve Blackman.
Did we? We were just talking to him about it. You know what? Al Snow is going in for that one. I think so. Well, when you think about the guys that he did help create, guys that he helped put over, I am going to get that one in as well. Al Snow, good on him.
I mean, see, at the height of his career with Head, they should have just put the title on him and let him go. Give him a 6-month run with the belt. Nobody could have touched him. And again, he is actually a legitimate badass.
True. Because
he comes in and kicks people's asses.
Yeah, and he's also like just a brilliant guy as well. Because remember the thing where he saved that kid for the Riptide? saving
Yeah.
from drowning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that just shows you the type of guy, like, type of guy he is, like, on screen as well as off screen. And
Yeah.
the fact that
Well, that's
he
like,
was,
I was going to say, that's like Bam Bam Bigelow ran into that house that was on fire because there was wains in it.
no, definitely. And you think about the guys that, that Arsenal in particular was like very close to, like Mick Foley and Terry Funk,
Yeah.
like guys of that era. Like, so I would definitely put Arsenal in. I think, yeah, he did. I think he deserves to go in. So that's us.
Yeah.
We've got our 20, including
There we
honourable
go.
mentions. There we are. Yeah, I think they're very good ones that we can use. I'm very, very happy with that.
Yep.
So that just leaves the question for anybody that is watching. Like, what do you guys think? Who do you think should be in this list of wrestlers that should have won the big one but never did? Leave a comment and be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, this has been Raw's Ginger. I've been Andrew. He's been Kevin. Good night.
Yeah.